Welcome. We're here with the CEO and chairman of the board of Flora Growth, Luis Merchant. Luis, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you here. Luis, we want to dive right into some topics about the business and what Flora Growth is doing. What's changed in your business since the IPO in May of last year?
Well, I think it's important to highlight that we have been able to execute a number of our strategic initiatives, including the acquisition of two very important players in the CPG space in cannabis called Vessel Brand and Just CBD. Vessel, a leading consumer technology in the vaping space and dry herb, and then Just CBD, a leading CBD CPG product manufacturer in North America.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the competition and then the comparisons a little bit. How do you view Flora's core value proposition? How do you find it different from other international players that are in the same space?
Well, it's important to highlight that Flora has built a diversified strategy that allows us to activate meaningful revenue growth over the short term with a portfolio of brands and products, while still taking advantage of the potential that cannabis has in terms of dry flower derivatives as well as the pharmaceutical space. And that balanced approach has allowed us to deliver on our short-term revenue projections as well as maximizing the growth term potential of the cannabis industry.
Perfect. Okay, talk about some of the milestones that you see as critical to the sustained growth of global cannabis. What are some things you see being roadblocks to that?
Well, I think if you want to talk about the global cannabis space, you have to start with the regulatory framework. And clearly, there's been a lot of positive movements, especially coming out of South America, i.e. Colombia. Colombia is a country that is at the vanguard of the regulatory changes in the cannabis space, and that's where our manufacturing operations as well as our cultivation facility is located. But there's also some meaningful changes that are coming out of Europe. For example, the German market moving into full recreational by the end of 2022, the very friendly government and regulatory changes in Malta, as well as other changes in the European Union. Likely, the most meaningful one will be the changes that will happen in the United States with both the More and Safe Banking Acts that will give access to cannabis companies to liquidity as well as normal banking instruments, as well as decriminalize cannabis. So regulatory would be the single most important change that the cannabis industry will expect on a global scale.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the role of the brand in the business and the cannabis more broadly. What do you think the role of the brand means specifically, and why is it so essential?
It's critical, and it's a great question. Foundationally, the global cannabis trade will become an international one, meaning those cultivators that can achieve the lowest production cost while maintaining quality levels are going to be able to take market share. But that game is a commodity game. In order for the cannabis companies to take advantage of meaningful margins and meaningful profitability, you have to establish connections with the end consumer. And the only way to do that is through a brand that is well positioned, that resonates with the consumers. At Flora, we have been able to build a portfolio of brands that have done just that. We currently count with over 500,000 of consumers, and that number continues to grow on a daily basis. And that loyalty allows us to build meaningful connections with the communities that we serve, as well as identify potential white space opportunities for the space.
That's great. Okay, talk a little bit about the life sciences division that Flora has. What work are you doing there, and what are you hoping to achieve with that division?
This is all about thought leadership and putting our actions where our words are. It's very important for a cannabis company to invest in research and development to ensure that there's scientific-based research behind all the products and the formulations that are being developed. We certainly believe that plant-based wellness is here to stay, and that these types of products will become part of the mainstream and the lives of millions of humans worldwide. And in order for us to be able to accomplish this, we need to invest in clinical trials, in scientific-based research, in education for both patients, consumers, and the medical community. And the life sciences division at Flora, led by Dr. Annabelle Manalo Morgan, is doing just that.
That's great. Okay, what would you want the media and the public markets to know more about regarding the cannabis industry? Do you think there's anything that's miscovered or not covered enough?
It's a great question. I think the potential for growth on an international scale is widely underestimated. The change in CBD across the globe will bring forth meaningful revenue generations from the CBD space. We are seeing that out of the Just CBD division, which is having the most rapid growth being in the international business. That highlights that what we're seeing in Europe today is likely what we saw in the United States 3-4 years ago with regards to CBD. And there are other product categories just like the Just CBD category that are going to continue to explode on an international scale and will not only be about the commodity move of dry flower.
Fantastic. Okay, where can our audience follow Flora Growth for more information, upcoming news, developments, any social channels you'd like to bring up?
Of course, www.floragrowth.com for all the information regarding our corporate strategy, as well as all the investor information is at Flora. Our multiple websites that are available for e-commerce for all of our brands, as well as they can follow me on LinkedIn, Luis Merchant, CEO and chairman of the company. And we're also very active, of course, on Twitter and other social media platforms.
That's great. Luis Merchant, the CEO and chairman of the board at Flora Growth. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about everything you guys are working on.
Thank you for having me.